Welcome to Man About Danville with Logan H. Gurman, a podcast for Danville, Kentucky and beyond. Conversations with friends, and you get to listen. Brought to you by the Logan Company, a commercial and residential real estate brokerage for Danville and Central Kentucky. 80% Danville-centric, 20% eccentric.
Good morning, Danville, Kentucky. You are listening to Man About Danville, the leading podcast, the fastest growing podcast, the most influential podcast for Danville, Boyle County, Central Kentucky, and probably the entire Commonwealth. I am the man about Danville himself, Logan H. Gurman. Thank you for joining me. Whether you're on a walk, on a run, in your car, driving to work, on a road trip, at work, mowing your yard. Is anybody mowing their yard yet? The sun's coming out. The grass is greening up. Spring is around the corner. Maybe you're getting ready to watch some NCAA basketball without the UK Wildcats. I don't know. Whatever it is you're doing, thanks so much for spending part of your day with me. Thanks for joining me. I sincerely appreciate it. Give me a like, give me a rating. Go ahead and subscribe wherever you find me, whatever podcast app you're using. I appreciate the ratings and the reviews, and I appreciate you sharing it on social media so that friends that used to live here or want to live here or are thinking about living here one of these days can find the podcast. Want to give a shout out to my listener of the week, Merle, and his brother Kenny. Ran into Merle this week, and he had some nice things to say. Appreciate it. I appreciate the work you're doing, and I appreciate what you're doing for your brother Kenny. I know Kenny's going through a rough patch, and you guys are going to get through it. Please know that we're thinking about you and pulling for you. So Kenny and Merle, you guys are my listeners of the week. Also want to give a special shout out to Mrs. Burkettis and her English class at Bergen High School. They're going to be producing their own podcast. When they get it up and running, you'll hear about it here. So shout out to Mrs. Burkettis' English class over there at Bergen High School. Got a great show for you today. My friend Shana Followell is going to be here. She is the driving force behind Bluegrass and Buttercream. They're right there on Main Street. Let's get right to the show. I am pleased to be joined today by my friend Shana Followell. Shana of Bluegrass and Buttercream, thanks for being with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Logan.
You are a brave young lady. You decided to open a bakery in the shadow of Burke's Bakery. You guys do entirely different things, and we'll get to that in a bit. You and I met how? Through Heart of Danville?
Yeah, I think so. I was volunteering at the time. I wasn't like on any committees or anything, but you were serving on the board, I think.
And your bakery, Bluegrass and Buttercream, is right downtown. Where exactly can folks find your bakery?
So right now we're at 201 West Main Street. We are actually in the former Main Street Furniture Building right on the corner of 2nd and Main.
There are two questions people ask when somebody new moves to Danville. Where's your church home and whose house did you buy? So I'm glad you referenced that you're in the old Main Street Furniture Building, which used to be like the Kincaid Furniture.
It's been so many different things. It's been Main Street Furniture like 12 times, and they poor guys. I mean, just living in the shadow of one another, I suppose.
Well, now people know exactly what building we're talking about.
Yep,
and I say bakery. That's not doing it full justice. So we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Are you from Danville, or how did you get here?
So I'm not from Danville. I'm from Richmond. My family still lives there. I went to EKU and lived and worked there for forever. But my husband is from the Harrisburg area. And we have settled down on a farm kind of right in between Mercer and Boyle County. It's kind of a pain, honestly, because our house sits in Boyle County, but then our mailbox is in Mercer County. So when we put our house there, like everybody came after us for property taxes and stuff. Nobody knew who we were and what we were doing and where we actually were. But our kids go to Boyle County schools, but we have a Harrisburg address.
What does Travis do?
Travis works for AGCO. It's a new company called Ag Revolution. They took over the agriculture division of Boyd Cat. He worked for them for 13 years. So he does equipment like servicing for tractors and combines and things like that. He's a field tech, so he travels all over the state. Like today, I think he's in Cynthiana.
So does he work on the equipment himself?
Yes, he does.
So I grew up on a farm on Harrisburg Road, and we have this giant machine shed behind the house. And from Thanksgiving through right about now, my dad spent the entire time in the shop rebuilding International 1086s and.
Yep. Internationals, that's what he really loves to work on. He works on a lot of Massey's and Fendt tractors right now. But we're coming into his busy season because everybody's getting ready to start hay and to start planting. So anything that got broken at the end of the last season, farmers are just now getting around to it. And he's got calls from all over the places.
I understand. I meant to take some stuff into the shop and I'm like, I'll get around to it. And then here it is. Time to pull it back out.
Yep.
didn't get done what I said I was going to do over the winter. All right, so Bluegrass and Buttercream is your operation. That's a bakery and restaurant. Tell me about that.
So we're by nature a custom cake and cupcake shop.
Okay.
That's kind of how I started. So let's backtrack just a little bit. A little of our history. So I was the pastry chef at the Bluebird in Stanford.
Oh, okay.
I was there for about 3.5, almost 4 years. But at the same time, I was baking cakes and doing cookies and stuff like that from home for friends and everything.
Working that side hustle.
Right. Because I have a bad Disney World addiction. And I figured it out. I'm like, how many cupcakes do I have to sell to get my butt back to Disney? I don't know. So it helped pay for vacations and stuff like that. But I really, really loved my day job. I worked for a super group over there, the Stanford Stewardship Group. Still have a good relationship with them. So that was a lot of fun. But it got to the point where I was killing myself at work all day because we were a really busy restaurant. But then I was coming home and staying up all night long to bake and get stuff ready. And like one time I had made a wedding cake and then I had to go to work and I came home and Hayden, she was 3, it's our youngest daughter, had taken a spoon and picked herself a bite out of the icing on the edge of that cake, and I thought I was going to die. So that's whenever we figured out we need to either take it full time or let it go, the side hustle part of it. So I had a friend call me at work. Well, he sent me a text and he was like, "Hey, Shayna, this space is opening up in downtown. It's Wilma Brown's Pie Shop, and why don't you go and talk to her?" And I was like, okay, we'll just go see. Like, I mean, I had no idea what the rent was going to be, if the space was even going to be usable for what I wanted. And I was like dreading telling Chef that I was going to leave. I mean, it wasn't something planned. So I went over there and I talked to her, and I don't know if you know anything about Miss Brown, but she's a tough cookie.
She was my middle school librarian.
Okay, great. So she chewed me up and spit me out pretty much. She was like, "You have no idea what you're doing, little girl." And
I see her saying that with as much love as possible.
I know. Here's a cookie, but go away. Pretty much is how that came out. But luckily, the building owners were in there. So I was able to talk to them afterwards and let them know like what I wanted to do. And they're like, "Well, we've got some other people who are interested. We'll call you back in a few days." 4 or 5 days went by. I was like, I'll never hear from them again. Whatever. Just go to work and keep doing what I'm doing. They called and they said they'd love to rent to us. And then I freaked out a little bit and called Trav, and I'm like, "By the way, I think we're going to do this." So I put in a 6 weeks notice at Bluebird, cried the whole time. I told Chef that I was leaving because it was like running away from home. And then we took out a $5,000 personal loan against Travis's truck and we started a business. I took possession of the building September 1st of 2017, and I was up and running with my first day of business by the 27th of that month.
So I just happened to see an Instagram post this morning of some of the custom cakes you all do. Mm-hmm. It kind of, I especially like the Gotcha Day cake that you did, but that's kind of a personal thing. You guys can do anything on a cake.
We try really hard.
What are some of the most outlandish, extravagant, fantastic cakes? Have you done a Game of Thrones cake yet?
We haven't done a Game of Thrones cake, but one of my, kind of, I don't know. So we did a black wedding cake this year. It was solid black top to bottom, and each tier had a different texture to it. So it involved like we had to hand dye fondant, and then the center tier had rock candy that was hand painted and then airbrushed on top so it would sparkle a little bit. And then the top tier was just like a smooth, like nice black buttercream. But I literally had green like dripping down my arms for days from scrubbing the black off my hands. It was crazy. And then where we airbrushed it, we found like overspray all over the kitchen. So that was really, really cool. That bride had a very specific look that she was going for with her wedding, and that was really neat. And then we do just like lots of fondant work, lots of fun smash cakes for first birthdays. These moms come up with some of the craziest themes, and we like being part of that. We did a stack of pancakes about 2 years ago, and it had like fresh blueberries on it, little butter pats, and like a syrup drip. It was really, really cool. We got lots of love over that one. But honestly, I tell people, whatever you can think of, we'll try our best to make it.
Whatever your child or significant other has, you could do. One of them it was obviously for somebody who fished, you had a smallmouth bass on the cake. So you all really can do anything. Then you also do lunch and those kind of things.
Yeah, so we do offer lunch service, and that kind of came by just seeing the need in the community, because we do need more eateries downtown, especially for our professionals that don't have a lot of lunchtime to kind of play with. So we have a small cafe menu. We keep a few things in the deli case that we make fresh every morning, some salads and cold sandwiches, but you can also hang around and get some warm sandwiches, and then we do soups every week as well. So there's several different options. I think there's like 16 options on our lunch menu.
Menu kind of rotates on a daily basis?
Not anymore. It did. Whenever we first started offering lunch, because we were in a tiny kitchen and didn't quite know how we were going to do all of this stuff. I have all of these ideas, and we know that we can execute them, but sometimes the logistical side, it takes us just a little bit longer to figure out where we have to move things around in the kitchen and stuff like that. So it took us a while, but we've got to a full cafe model because once the pandemic hit, everything went sideways. A lot of our restaurants were closed, but we were actually still able to stay open in some capacity the entire time. We only closed for 2 weeks. And I was like, let's take this slower period as a time to figure out how we move our equipment around and make space to be able to offer lunch to people. And it's worked out splendidly.
Well, when the pandemic hit, coincided with the event that we're going to talk about. And this is, I said, when this hits the news is when I wanted to talk to you about it.
Right.
Your shop was the subject of a business makeover for
Food Network.
The Food Network of Canada?
Yes. Well, okay. So
take it from the beginning, how you got there,
Yeah.
how they found you, what happened, which was going on during the pandemic. Give us the whole story.
So it was very, very strange, and I thought it was for sure a scam because I'm like, how legit is it to get a Facebook message on a Friday night from a casting producer that says, you look pretty cool. We think we're going to put you on TV. That doesn't happen.
Had you applied?
No, I did not apply. They found us through our social media posts. If I am crazy about anything with my business, it is making sure that we stay on top of our social media outlets. We post on Facebook and Instagram usually twice a day. But it's the same thing, like people eat with their eyes. Like we know that our treats and our lunches and stuff are very good, but like they've got to be pretty too. So we like to showcase those on our social media outlets. And so she was looking around in the tri-state area like Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee. And she said that she Googled towns that she had never heard of and looked at bakeries. And we popped up. And so she kind of scoured our Facebook and Instagram pages. She Googled my name to see what came up and just sent a message to see if we would be interested. And it said like, we're looking to cast for a bakery show for Food Network, and we're looking for bakeries that have a good following, that are well established, but could maybe use a sprucing up. Would you be interested? I did not think that she was legitimate. That is so weird.
I can see that, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just super random out of the blue. It was like a 5:30 on a Friday night. All my girls had went home, and I was kind of just closing up and working on orders for the next day. And I was like, well, okay. So I checked out like her LinkedIn account and kind of did some Facebook stalking on her because that's what we do in 2020 at that point. So looked pretty legitimate. So I sent her a message back. I'm like, tell me all the things. And yes. So she scheduled like just a phone conference for that Monday, so just a couple days later, and that went really well. She's super easy to talk to. Her name was Shannon. Her and her husband kind of do this together, and just wanted to know like the background of our business, how we got started, what my history was, if I had had any culinary training, and just what was going on. And then that apparently went well, and she called me back later that evening and set up a Zoom meeting, well, Skype, I think, for Wednesday. So she was like, make sure your computer is stationed in this area, make sure you're not wearing this color, you know, all of those things, because it was like a camera test. So she would ask me a bunch of questions and I would have to answer in a certain way, and just so they could show it to the producers. I felt like it went okay. And she called that evening and said that she was going to send it over to her producer, but the producer was on location shooting for another show. Like, okay. And it would take like a couple weeks to hear back. So I'd pretty well put it in the back of my mind after 2 or 3 weeks because I'm like, I'm not going to hear anything. It's no big deal. I'd been through this process before with another show with Food Network, but it ended up getting canceled. So like I know that like TV time just works differently. But I had a text come through on my watch one morning. I was kind of giving like a morning report to the girls in the kitchen, and it said, "Hey Shayna, this is Shannon. Please check your email." And I like my soul left my body, like passed out right there on the floor. And then I went and checked my email, and I like couldn't even read it. I was like, and the girls were like, spit it out, man. What did she say? I'm like, they'll be here in 3 weeks. I don't know what I'm doing. It'll be great. So, yeah. And then after that, it was just a ton of phone calls about like they needed to know like the size of our shop. And they wanted to know like what was going on financially. They wanted to know all the things. And then they would send me a timeline. And then 3 days later, the timeline would change. And then they'd send another one. And then that would change again. And it was what it was.
All of this was around the onset of the pandemic.
Yes, it was. So most of this was happening. Like I think I touched base with her in January, and then we found out we were going to be on in February, and then they arrived March 10th. So they literally barely got in before the whole world shut down. Right. They were here the 10th through the 16th. So they were here the week that school got shut down, like on that Friday, and then these guys were all from Canada. So we had to get finished and get them out of here. They weren't sure if it was safe for them to fly. They were all scared, and they were like angry at their production company because they didn't feel like they were taking it seriously. I mean, because nobody knew what was going on. They just knew that they were getting phone calls from home that said, you need to get home. They actually ended up not flying back because they weren't sure if it was safe, and so they had to they rented a charter bus, and they left on the 16th and drove all through the night to get back up to the Toronto area to be able to cross the border because the borders had shut down at that point.
Bizarre. All right, so what's the name of the show?
It's called Project Bakeover.
Okay.
It has actually already aired in Canada. Our episode aired on February the 18th. They had 5 episodes that aired right now, and then there's like a short break, I suppose, for the second half of the season, and it'll air again March 13th in Canada. And
I know a lot of those shows then air in the United States. There's a lot of on HGTV and Food Network that's produced in Canada that we get. So will it air at some point in the United States, or do you
That's
know?
what we are being told. At first, like in November of 2020, we were told it would air simultaneously in the States and in Canada. So I was pretty excited for that. I'm like, good, then we don't have to wait. But that obviously didn't happen. Some things have changed. So we don't have an air date for the States yet. I've seen the episode. They were able to send me a copy. But the only thing we've been able to share is like a 2-minute, 45-second clip.
Okay. So there's no place on the internet where I can go check it out yet?
Maybe. So, okay. My aunt...
Don't get in trouble with your producer.
No, not at all. My aunt is like a crazy person. I love her, but she's like always Team Shayna. You know, her and my mama, they're like rooting for me. But she found this program, I couldn't even tell you what it's called, this like TV thing, and she bought a subscription for it because she specifically was able to get Food Network Canada. And so the night that it aired, she FaceTimed me on her iPad and set it up in the living room, and we were able to watch together. It was the funniest thing, knowing full well that I was going to get a copy of it in like the next 2 days, but we were not waiting daggone it. We were watching it together. And so while we were watching it, I was able to text Steve Hodge, the host, and be like, oh my gosh, you know, we were able to talk throughout it and stuff. So it was pretty cool.
So they sent down a TV and film crew.
Mm-hmm.
Then what was the process like for you in your operation? Did they bring in a designer or?
Yeah. So they kept us pretty well in the dark for a lot of it. We knew that Steve Hodge, he's a pastry chef. We knew that he was coming down and he was going to take a look at our menu stuff. And we knew that Tiffany Pratt is a interior designer. She's literally cotton candy in a person form. She's awesome. We knew that she was coming down, but we weren't given like any room for input or anything like that on what our space was going to look like. We were just supposed to be blindly trusting her. Leading up to that, we had to take pictures of like all of our space and give them like square footage and everything like that. And they did ask if there was one thing we could change about our bakery, what would it be design wise? And I just said that my counter was a little bit too tall. That's it. It works better in the old location than it does in this one. No big deal. So the night before they got here, I was like frantic around the kitchen because they wanted like a full set of things, but no staff that day. So I had to do it all myself. I had to make sure the counters were completely loaded and all that. So I was working like till stupid o'clock. But in walks this little cotton candy person, her and her PA, and I was like, what are you doing here? I'm not ready for you. But she just kind of came in to say hello and check out the space and stuff. And her big thing was, oh my gosh, it's way bigger than what I thought. So I think she probably had to pivot just a little bit because the space was quite a bit bigger than what she was expecting. And she said it was much bigger than any of the other bakeries that they had been in. But they came down and quickly ushered me out of the front of the house after we finished the filming for the first day. Then the blindfolds came out. They put paper up on the walls and drapes and stuff. And the reaction that you see on TV is a genuine reaction to what that space looked like. I was like practically talking to dolphins because I like couldn't catch my breath because it's just absolutely beautiful. And for someone that doesn't really know me, she picked like the most perfect design for us and our business, and it worked out really, really well. But it was 10 long days. Well, not 10, sorry. 7 long days? Yes, it was 7 long days of filming. Some days we would start at 8 and then we'd get done at like 7 or 8 that night.
So did they film a lot of it after the big reveal, or?
No, there wasn't a whole lot of filming that happened after that. And I think, honestly, it's because we had to get them back to Canada. They filmed the reveal, and then we had some friends and family that knew about what was going on. They got to come in and see the space and try some of the new items. And then they packed up, and they were gone as quick as they got here.
I was a mystery shopper. The Heart of Danville put out an email and said, we need warm bodies over here.
Yep.
And I showed up with some other folks just to have bodies milling about. Those guys were professionals. Mm-hmm. They were like, you know, and my job was to sit in chair by window, I think, and have something to eat. They were like clockwork. They really knocked it out.
Yeah, they were super, super kind. And we had a lot of fun with them. But like they definitely knew what they were doing. It was so strange, though, because I don't like silence. I like to fill the noise, whether it's, just with whatever. But there was a lot of times where it was like deathly silent on set. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. This is very strange. And it was a lot of, okay, Shayna, I need you to turn just a little bit this way, or can you put your hand here, or hold the box this way. It was very strange that first day. And the weirdest thing to me was that Steve never came up and introduced himself to me. He would sit in the corner, like in that other banquette, and he would like wave at me. Just very strange.
That's the pastry chef.
Yes, that's the pastry chef, the host. In hindsight, it's because he wanted that first meeting on camera to be an actual thing. But he just watched the whole time, and I thought that was really weird.
Now that it's all behind you, obviously you're happy with the renovation of the space. And,
oh, yeah.
And did they make a lot of changes to your menu that you're happy with? Or?
So, yes and no. Their big thing, like our episode is called Sweet is Not a Flavor. Poor Steve, he's never been to the South. Because people like their sugar around here. We don't get any complaints about, our cakes and cupcakes and things like that, because it's a very traditional cake that like everyone grew up with, their mama getting them from their bakery when they came along and stuff.
It's cake flavored.
Correct. It's just cake with American buttercream, because that's what folks are used to. But we do offer Swiss meringue and Italian meringue for a little bit of a different palate. Some people think it's too buttery. The other is too sweet, whatever. We have kind of a gamut to appease everyone. But Steve's big thing was that he was going to come in and save our cupcakes, which was kind of funny. If you've seen the clip, I will just say don't believe everything you see on TV, because where our cupcake sales had declined a little bit, we also have to think about the time of the year that it was and how the rest of the financials were kind of balanced out. They were looking at January numbers when we just came off of Christmas, which is outrageous anyhow. But so we had maybe been selling like 50 to 75 cupcakes less a week. We were selling much more of our other products. Like our cakes had picked back up post-Christmas, with January birthdays and stuff. Our lunch service, cookie, everything like that. It was all evened out. We weren't like in financial trouble, but it was kind of stumping us as to why the cupcakes had started weren't selling as well. But I think hindsight is always 20/20. Looking back at it, it was just probably the time of the year or just a slow month, because people didn't know what we had done. We actually didn't change our recipes back to what Steve had, because the feedback we got from like those people that got to try them on camera was that they didn't love them because it's not what they were used to and not what they look for whenever they come into a sweet shop. It was probably exactly what would sell in West Vancouver where his bakery is, but it wasn't what people wanted in small town Kentucky.
So people can walk in. You've got cupcakes ready to go every day.
Yes. Tuesday through Saturday. You can come in. There's generally 8 to 12 cupcake flavors. We try to keep a good stock of that. But I will say that the earlier you get there, the better. It's not unheard of for us to sell out by 3:30, and we don't close till 5.
And you can custom make cupcakes if somebody needs a big order. So what are some of your better selling cupcake flavors? So
everybody always wants a wedding cake cupcake. It's just a classic white cupcake with a vanilla buttercream. We make all of our cake with just a base dry mix, so we don't weigh out our flour and stuff like that. But then we add tons of buttermilk and sour cream and emulsions and things like that. And that's what makes that good fluffy cupcake. So people come in and they're like, I want that one. that big white cupcake. But we also sell a ton of strawberry, specifically our strawberry fields that we make a fresh strawberry jam for, and we put it inside of a strawberry cupcake. It's really, really fresh, and people like that a lot. But anything with chocolate, people eat it all day long.
What's on your lunch menu?
So we have 3 cold sandwiches on our lunch menu, a turkey pesto croissant, the B&B club roll, which is just a classic cold club, and then our country croissant, which is my favorite.
Country ham involved?
It is. So we use Penn's shaved country ham, and then we make a jalapeno cream cheese, and we spread that on the croissant, and then we also put blackberry jam on there. The sweet and the spicy really go really nicely together with spring greens and tomatoes. We sell a ton of that one. That one's pretty popular. But then if you're going to talk about like hot sandwiches, our pimento cheese BLT and our pepper jack club are by and large our biggest sellers.
Is the buffalo chicken still on it?
The buffalo chicken is still on it. Yep. We go through probably 10 pounds of buffalo chicken a week.
If there's some outlier out there, do y'all have salads?
We do. We have 1 salad on our menu right now.
Like per day? Like you just have the 1 salad sitting there and the first one that comes in gets it?
No, we make 4 in the morning and then we refill all day long. We make those fresh. But it's just a big chef salad. We call it the farmhouse. There's turkey and ham, a deviled egg, tomatoes, spring mix croutons, cucumbers, bacon crumbles, and then our house-made creamy herb dressing, which people keep asking us to bottle. So we might need to think about that.
So if I can come in and have a salad and a cupcake, and those 2 things will average out.
Correct. It's all about balance. I feel like if you eat the salad, then the calories from the cupcake don't count.
They kind of counteract, and it's a chemical reaction.
We have a setting on our oven. It just takes all the calories out.
Outstanding. All right. Let's talk about something else briefly.
Sure.
You look you look a bit different than you did at the time of the filming of the show.
It's okay. You can say drastic because it is a pretty big change. So whenever I filmed that show, I was 330 pounds. Suffering from polycystic ovarian syndrome and insulin resistance. So my body was just totally fighting against me, but I still ran 100 miles an hour and, I was super unhealthy in several different ways, mentally, physically, spiritually. Like it was a hard season at the shop and, whatever. It was just not great. But now sitting across from you, I'm clocking in at 198 pounds. I've lost 132 pounds in the last 9 months.
While running a bakery.
Yes.
I can inhale carbs and gain weight. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I know you feel, but you've talked about it on social media. I know you feel better, and you and your whole family have to be happy that you're just in a healthier place.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, it's a really weird thing because I felt like I had to do that for my health. I'm 30 years old. There's no reason for me to be in such decline. My girls are young. They're 9 and 7, so they need their mom to be able to be around. And, like, we like to hike and we like to go and do these things, but I like to think that I could keep up, but I really couldn't. And, like, I'd be sore and stuff, and I wasn't in good shape. So we made the decision to have, for me to have the gastric sleeve surgery. I had that on May 18th. So it had actually got pushed back because of the pandemic, because elective surgeries weren't happening and that sort of thing. So May 18th, I went in for surgery and I weighed 330 pounds. And then here we are, almost 10 months later.
So despite all the challenges of 2020, you had a pretty good year.
Oh, yeah. I had a pretty rocking year, to be quite honest. We got to film the show, and then, like, I got a little bit of extra time at home with my kiddos and stuff. Like, the quarantine portion of 2020 was pretty sweet for the Followells. Like, I got to slow down a little bit, which was great because I love my business and I love what I do and all the things that I do with church and everything. But it's nice to be able to slow down a little bit. And I was able to focus on me for the first time in several years. So I had surgery, and not to be outdone, of course, I had surgery on a Monday. I went home on a Tuesday. I went back to work on Thursday because I was like, I still have things to do,
That's what small business owners do.
Right. I couldn't lift 50-pound bags of flour. No big deal. I can still decorate and do whatever I need to do. So it was a good, like, reset for everything, for my body, for the business. It was great. And then I just started working out as soon as I could. And I really am the type of person that jumps both feet in whenever I start something. So I was working out, and I still weigh all of my food out and things like that. And I've got 28 pounds to go until goal weight for my doctor.
One of my questions is, what's next for you? What's next for Bluegrass and Buttercream? Do you have any events coming up that you're going to be participating in personally?
Yeah, I do. Logan, whatever. You're on my social media. You know what I'm doing. So I'm training.
This is for my audience.
Yeah.
My worldwide global podcast audience that don't know you.
Yes,
so.
Take a look into the life of Shayna. She's covered in sugar and sweaty all the time.
And we're all going to point them to your Instagram feed and everything else, too.
So, can we talk about that for just a second?
Please do.
So, I'm obviously on social media and stuff a lot for the business, but I started this separate Instagram for my weight loss journey, because I feel like if there are not people holding me accountable, I'm going to eat cookies, and I'm it's so easy for people who have had this surgery to either gain their weight back or not lose anything at all, because it's a mental thing. You're not changing your habits. I mean, when there's accountability there, you kind of don't have a choice, So I kind of teetered on whether or not I was going to do that and be super open about it. But then the more I got into it, there's a lot of shame that comes with having weight loss surgery. A lot of people will tell you you've taken the easy way out, that you should just eat better and you should just work out more. Well, it doesn't always work that way, especially for women that have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Our bodies fight against us, whether it's through infertility issues or weight gain or mental health. You just have to have more to help you with that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And with being transparent, I've had so many people come into the shop and they're like, I think I'm going to have surgery, or I just want to lose 20 pounds. What has your doctor said? What has worked for you? And then I've had some branding opportunities that come from that. So I'm a brand ambassador for Built Bar protein bars. They are phenomenal. You can always find me with one, just because I used them a lot and I talk about it.
So you're an influencer too?
I know. Isn't
That's
that
so
weird?
millennial.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I'm keeping my skinny jeans and my side part. I look like a librarian with a middle part and not a cute one. So yeah, I get to just share about the products that I use, and I get just a teeny tiny kickback. But the best thing is just that my friends are like, yep, those are good. And so it helps feed some of those cravings.
So what's that Instagram account?
So it's Heavy to Healthy Shayna. It's Heavy to Healthy _Shayna. And it's mostly just about what I eat and the runs that I go on, because I'm training for a mini marathon at the end of April, the Derby Mini. And at this point, with all the weather we've had, someone will have to drag me across the finish line. But I'll figure it out. It's 13.1 miles.
That's not a mini. That's a full half.
Yes, it's a half.
I don't want to drive 13.1 miles if I don't have to.
So it's just been really weird. Okay, so I've always, even whenever I was heavy and unhealthy, thought that I could be physically active. So, I mean, I've done lots of things. I've done CrossFit, I've done all of those things, and I really enjoy it, but the weight just never would go anywhere. But in that time, I signed up to do the Iron Horse Marathon, half marathon in Midway. I trained. Was I ready for it? Heck no. But I was like, by golly, I'm going to do it. I literally get to Midway the day that I was supposed to run, and I chickened out and I came home.
So it's going to be redemption for you this April.
Absolutely. And then I have a wedding the next day, so I'm hoping I can still walk.
Well, they can just get you one of those
I know.
dollies. And just
going to deliver your cake on a scooter.
I've got a feeling you're going to get everything knocked out. Do you have any are you training with anybody?
I'm not necessarily training with anybody, but there are a lot of people from Danville who are going. Because I train in weird parts of the day, in between lunch rush at the shop. I thankfully can work downtown, so I just run out of town and back. Usually 3 to 4 miles, and then on the weekends I do longer runs on Saturdays.
All right. Well, any plans for 2021 and beyond for the Bluegrass and Buttercream?
Yes. So we are.
Is this what you said don't talk about yet?
Well, we can share a little bit. We are just really pushing the gas pedal on a lot of our custom work. We are charging our worth for our business, to be quite honest, and just kind of mixing things up a little bit as far as our menus are concerned. Our spring menu for lunch will actually come out on April the 6th. We rotate our lunch menu seasonally. So we just have a lot of plans as far as just how to further build Bluegrass and Buttercream. But then personally / professionally, my husband and I are looking at opening a new business and starting a new project this summer that will take me away from Bluegrass and Buttercream just a little bit. But I've got an awesome team and they're not stressed about it, so I'm not going to be stressed about it. And we've got something new coming on. But
you can't tell us exactly what that is yet.
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we may have to have a part 2
yeah.
when we launch your new project. What's your lead time for a wedding cake? If I'm getting married in 3 weeks, is that enough time?
No. Absolutely not. I mean, I'll give you a cupcake, but you're not getting a cake. Right now, we're booking about 3 to 4 weeks out. We actually had to post this morning that we are booked through Easter for any kind of custom work. Generally speaking, if someone calls us on a Tuesday, we'll try to get you in for just something small on like Thursday or Friday, but weekends, you can forget it. And we're not even into busy season yet. We have weekends with weddings studded all the way from Easter weekend through December right now.
So are we going to have weddings once again in 2021?
We are having weddings once again. They look a little bit weird and your cake may be in a glass case, but we're having weddings.
Nobody's coughing on the cake until it's served?
Correct. That's the plan.
Shana, you were delightful as always.
We're kind of living our best life right now.
All right, give me your social media handles for Bluegrass and Buttercream and where we can find you, phone numbers.
So you can find us on Facebook and Instagram under the same handle. It's just Bluegrass and Buttercream, AND. You can call us. Our store phone is 859-236-2423, and we're open Tuesday through Saturday.
I know what we didn't talk about.
What?
My favorite thing. It's the oatmeal.
The oatmeal cream pies.
From your youth, you may remember the Little Debbie, that's L-I-L Debbie, oatmeal cream pie, which was 2 semi-plastic synthesoid oatmeal cookies with a layer of frosting in between.
Yeah.
You make your own?
Yes, we do.
That thing, if I'm down to my last $2 in this town, and that's it, I'm coming to get one of those. Are those available every day?
They are available every day. We make usually 4 batches or so a week, and they're a pretty substantial dessert. They're about 6 ounces.
I was going to say 1.5 pounds, but okay. 6 ounces of oatmeal cream pie is plenty.
Yes, of pure deliciousness. So we just make a really nice brown sugar oatmeal molasses cookie, and then we pump that thing full of marshmallow buttercream. Sandwiched all together. I mean, you can eat it in one sitting. I don't recommend it.
No, you can really cut it in half. And
yeah, for sure.
Eat one half now and then another half.
And we serve them in a resealable bag, so you can eat half of it, tuck it into your desk, and have it later, or your nightstand or whatever. That's where I had my treats for my kids because they don't go in mom's nightstand. There's always a bag of peanut M&Ms in there. I may have had weight loss surgery, but I still got to have a snack or two. I eat lots of Built Bars and Quest chips and all that fun stuff, but I have some of the bad stuff too.
Next time you're going down Main Street, stop in and get an oatmeal cream pie and tell them I sent you. So, all right, Shana, that's all I got. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. But wait, there's more. You know what it's time for. What's up, Danville? Danville. What's up, Danville? That's where I let you know what's going on in our fair metropolis. And truth is, not much. I don't know of much going on right now. I don't know of any 5Ks that are scheduled or fundraising events. Center College is back playing sports with limited fans in the stands. Boyle County and Danville are finishing up their basketball and winter sports seasons, finishing up swim team and dive. Spring sports are getting warmed up, baseball, track, tennis. But I don't know of a whole lot. The Art Center, of course, has got ongoing exhibits. So if you have something you'd like for me to mention here in What's Up, Danville, whether it's a fundraising event for your not-for-profit, if it is a sports-related activity, BYSA, spring soccer sign-ups, Little League sign-ups, something like that, let me know. If you have something going on with regard to arts and culture in our community, let me know. If you've got something for me, email me, ManAboutDanville@gmail.com. Look for me on the website, ManAboutDanville.com. I'm on the Insta. The handle is ManAboutDanville. Twitter, ManDanville. I'm also on Facebook. I'll put links to Shana's social media in the show notes, so check those out. You know what? Now that I think about it, I think I'm going to go get one of those oatmeal cream pies. That's all I've got. Be well. Have a good weekend. Thanks for listening.
That's it. We're out. Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Subscribe to Man About Danville wherever you access your favorite podcasts, and be sure to tell your friends about us. You've been listening to Man About Danville with Logan H. Gurman, brought to you by the Logan Company, a commercial and residential real estate brokerage for Danville and Central Kentucky. Know someone who would be a good guest? Want to be a guest yourself? Have an idea for the show? Get in touch with us. Find all our contact information on the web at ManAboutDanville.com. Thanks for joining us.